We continue now at the top of Daf Kuf Beis and Beis in Meseches Zevachim. This is Zevachim Daf 102b. On the previous summit, the Gemara brought a brisa which said that when it comes to a kohen that's a Baal Mum, not only in a situation where the mum is kavua, where it's a permanent blemish, do we say that the kohen can have a share from the karbonos, but the pasuk even includes a situation of a Baal Mum over, let's say it's a blemish that's going to pass. Even that kind of kohen with a temporary blemish is able to get a share of the karbonos. And the Gemara asked, isn't the brisa backwards? Isn't it more obvious that if it's a temporary blemish that he should be able to get a share of the karbonos? And on the previous summit, Rav Ashi said, actually, it's not necessarily more obvious, because when it's a mum over, when it's a temporary blemish, maybe you would say that he has to just wait for the blemish to go away to get a share in the karbonos. And the Gemara continues and elaborates, kitame, just like we find by a tame person. Ma'atame, just like by a tame, kohen, kama de lo tahar lo achel, as long as he's not yet purified, so he doesn't eat. Af hainami, so too over here, kama de lo misaken lo achel, as long as he's not fixed, meaning to say again, as long as the blemish doesn't go away, maybe you would say he doesn't eat. Kamash malon, that's what the Bryce is teaching us, that no, in a situation even of a Baal Mum where the mum will pass, but while he has the mum, while he has the blemish, he still gets a share from the karbonos. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Kol she'eino roi, anybody who's not fit to do the avoda, he does not get a share in the karbonos. And the Gemara says, Velo, is that not really the case? V'harei Baal Mum, what about a Baal Mum, like we just said, in a kohen with a blemish? To lo roi la'avoda, he's not fit to do the avoda in the Beis HaMikdash, v'cholik, and he does take a share from the karbonos. V'su, and further, haroi la'avoda, the implication of the Mishnah is that if he is fit to do the avoda, cholik, then he does get a share. But harei Tame b'karbonos tzibur. What about a person who is tame by a communal carbon? De roy lavoda, there he is fit for the avoda, ve'eno cholik, and he doesn't get a share of the karbonos. And the Gemara continues and answers, roy la'achila ka'amar. What the Mishnah actually means is if he's not fit to eat, so then he doesn't get a share from the karbonos. So Baal Mum is fit to eat, therefore he does get a share of the karbonos. But the Gemara continues and asks, v'harei katan, but what about a minor? De roy la'achila, he is fit to eat from the karbonos, ve'eno cholik, but he doesn't get a share of the karbonos. And the Gemara continues and answers, Halo Katani, that is not what it actually says in the Mishnah, meaning the Mishnah simply says, if a person is not fit, in a situation where he is not fit to eat, so then he doesn't get a share. It doesn't necessarily say that everybody who is fit to eat is able to get a share, and so therefore you can't ask a question from a katan, from a minor. But the Gemara says, Hashta da'as is lachi, once we're saying that the Mishnah is only going in one direction, that kol she'eno roy, once we're saying that, so liolam kedekamer me'ikara, so then we can really say, like we said originally, it means somebody who is not fit to do the service in the Beis HaMikdash, he doesn't get a share of the karbonos. And so then the question was, imi shum tameh, if you're asking about Tameh, so Tameh lo katani. So Tameh, that's not there in the Mishnah. V'imi shum Baal Mum, and if your question is about a Baal Mum, Rachmana Rabia, so there's a special inclusion by a Baal Mum, that we say the Baal Mum, even though he is not fit for the Avoda, he still gets a share in the karbonos. And Rashi explains, Harei Tame bekarbonos tzibur, when it comes to someone who's Tame by communal karbonos, Amr le'el b'reish pirkin, de'ein cholik, we said before in the beginning of our parak that he doesn't get a share of the karbonos, and Katan eino cholik, also a minor who's a Kohen doesn't get a share of the karbonos. Dechsiv ish ka'achiv v'darshin alei b'menachos v'kedushin, ish cholik, we say a man, he gets a share, afilu Baal Mum, even if he has a blemish, ve'in Katan cholik afilu tam, and a person who's a minor, a Kohen who's a minor, does not get a share even if he has no blemish. And then the Gemara said halo katani, but it never actually says the reverse, meaning haroi la'achila cholik. It's saying that if somebody is fit to eat, then he gets a share. The dayak, which is what you had by inference, again it said kol she'eino roy in the Mishnah, and we're inferring if he's roy la'achila cholik. Lo katani, that's not actually in the Mishnah, that's just an inference we're making. The tikshi lach katan, that now you have a difficulty by katan, because you're saying a katan is roy la'achila, but he's not cholik. Lo sidok minei hachi, just don't make that inference. The gufa itzrich lashminen, because the Mishnah is just teaching us what it says. The chol she'eino roy eino cholik, that if he's not fit, he doesn't get a share. V'lav diyu katani, we're not learning the inference. And Rashi continues, then the Gemara said, once we're saying halo katani, so then kedamrin meikar, go back to our original understanding of the Mishnah, that it means roi la'avoda. When it says kol she'eno roi, it means kol she'eno roi la'avoda. And in terms of the question from someone who's tamei, who is roi la'avoda, again, halo katani. It doesn't say it in that direction in the Mishnah. It's not saying that everybody who's roi la'avoda gets a share. Haroi la'avoda cholik, the kadayak, again, that inference that anyone who's roi la'avoda gets a share. V'kasha lachalo tamei v'karbanos sibur. and you had a question from the case of Tameh by a communal carbon. But lo katani la masnisin, that's not in the Mishnah. Ve'ad lo teisi midiyuka delashmin and higufa asoy masnisin v'lav lediyuka dila. Again, the purpose of the Mishnah is to teach what is written in the Mishnah and not that inference, and therefore there's no question from the case of Tameh. And again, the Gemara said, as far as Baal Mum, that is not Roy Lavoda, so that's a case apparently where he's not Roy Lavoda, but does get a share, but there's a special inclusion from the Pasuk. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, "Afilu tamei b'shas rikas damim," even if he's tamei at the time of the throwing of the blood, v'tor b'shas hektar chalavim, but he's pure at the time of the burning of the sacrificial portions. Eino cholek, he does not take a share of the karbanos. And the Gemara says, "Hatar b'shas rikas damim," but let's say he was tar at the time of the throwing of the blood, v'tamei b'shas hektar chalavim, but then he was tamei at the time of the burning of the sacrificial portions, cholek. So then he does take a share of the karbanos. That's the inference we can make from the Mishnah. And masnisin de lo ka Abashol. If that's the case, our Mishnah is not like Abashol. The Tanya, as we learned in a Brisa, Abashol Omer, Abashol says, Liola meino ochel, he never eats ad she'etar mishas zrika ad shas hektar chalavim, unless he's pure from the time of the zrika, of the throwing of the blood, until the time of the burning of the sacrificial portions. Diyamar Kra, as the pasuk says, Hamakrev es dam hashlomim ves achelev da'afilu hektar chalavim nami boy. Again, we learn from the pasuk that even at the time of the burning of the chalavim, it's required that he is pure. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. Boy, Rav Ashi asks, Nitma bein tayim, let's say he's tamei in between, meaning to say he is tar both at the time of the zrika and the time of the hektar chalavim, but in between he became tamei. Mahu, what's the halach in that case? B'shas zriko v'shas haktara bo'inan v'ha'ika. Do we just need him to be pure at the time of the zrika and the haktara, and that we have satisfied? O dilmar, maybe ad she'etar mishas zrika v'ad shas hektar chalavim. He has to be pure the entire time, from the time of the zrika until the time of the hektar chalavim. And the Gemara says, Teiku, the Gemara leaves that as a question. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rava says, Haidina me Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon Gamirna. This halacha from Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon was learned, the Amar bebeis hakisei, that he said in the beis hakisei, in the bathroom, Danta, you can make the following argument, Ba tvul yom v'yamar, the tvul yom will come and he will say, this person who is tamei, he'll come and he will say, Tein li mi mincha v'yochel, give me from the karban mincha and I should be able to eat from there. Amar lo, he says back to him, Umayim b'makom sheyafa kochacha b'chatoscha d'chisicha mechatas Yisrael, in a situation where Karban chatas and your chatas, you have a strength over there, but I'm pushing you off from a chatas Yisrael. So makom shahora kochacha b'minchascha, in a situation where you don't have a lot of strength in your karban mincha, eino din shadichacha mi minchas Yisrael. Doesn't it make sense? Isn't it logical to say that I'm going to push you away from taking from the mincha of a Yisrael? And Rashi explains, Danta yachol ata lodon. Again, you can make the following argument, but tvul yom v'yamar. The case is as follows. Let's say a tvul yom would come and say l'chavero, to his friend Tahor, who is pure, shal beis av shalo. They're both in the same beis av. They both want to take a portion from the karbanos. And the tvul yom comes and he says, Tenli b'chelik min ha-mincha shal Yisrael. There was a mincha brought by a Yisrael. I want to get a portion. V'yochel ha'erev. And then he's arguing that he'll be able to eat in the evening when he's pure. Amar leitar l'tvul yom. So the pure Kohen will say to the Tvul Yom, Kolomar, what it means to say, Kain yeshalo l'hashivo. This is what he's able to respond. Umayim b'makom sheyafa kochacha b'chatoscha. When it comes to your chatos, the Kohen ha'mechuyev chatos, the halacha is if a Kohen has to bring a chatos, me'vio umakriv, afilu b'mishmar she'eno shalo. He actually brings it and offers it, even if it's not his mishmar, even if it's not his time to serve in the mikdash. V'avodasa v'ora shalo, and that service and the hide belongs to him. B'perak hagozel b'baba kama. This is in Perak HaGozel, in Baba Kama, Minayin, L'Kohen Shabo, Makrav, Karbonosu, B'chalesu, B'chalshah, Shayirtza. How do we know a Kohen can bring and offer his Karbonos at any time that he wants? Talmud Lomer, Uvo, B'chol Abbas Nafsho, V'sheiris, Uminayin, Shavodasa, V'orashalo. Again, we learn that from the Pasuk, and how do we know that the surface is his and the hide is his? Talmud Lomer, Vishas Kadasha, V'lo Yu. Again, that is also learned from a Pasuk. So when it comes to Chatas, you have a lot of strength in your own Karban Chatas, but D'chisicha, Mechatas Yisrael, but you're pushed off from Chatas Yisrael, meaning the Tvul Yom Eino Cholek Bafir. Tvul Yom, if you're Tamei, he doesn't get a portion in a Chatas that's brought by Yisrael. T'chsiv HaKohen HaMechateo Sayochlena. It says that the Kohen, who is the one who's able to throw the blood, who's able to offer it, he's the one that eats from it. V'ukim Nele'el Yechleken, and we said earlier that Yochlena really means that he takes a portion of it. So Makom Shahora Kochacha B'minchascha. So in a case where you don't have a lot of strength, like by your own mincha, Shem Hisnadaft Mincha V'krafta, let's say say you would donate a mincha to bring your own mincha, afilu atatar, even if you're pure, iata ochla, you don't eat from there. Kedechsiv kol minchas kohen kala, because the mincha is totally burned if it's a minchas kohen. So eino din shadichacha, doesn't it make sense that I should push you off? Kol zman shata tvul yom, as long as you're tvul yom, veincha roy lahakrev mi minchas yisrael, and you can't offer from the minchas yisrael, so you're not going to get a share from the minchas yisrael. And the Gemara continues the argument. The tvul yom now responds to the kohen that's pure. Uma im dechisani mechatas yisrael. If you're able to push me away, that I don't get a share of a chatas from a yisrael, shekashem sheyafe kochi kaf yafe kochacha. That's because just like I have strength in chatas, you also have equal strength. But tadchini mi mincha, are you able to push me off of the mincha? Shekashem shehora kochi. There I don't have strength. But kach hora kochacha. But you also don't have strength. Harehu omer. So the pasuk says la kohen hamakrev osa lotia. Again, it says the kohen who is able to offer it, he's the one that gets it. Bo hakrev v'achol. Come and offer, and then you can eat. Meaning the fact that you can't offer it since you're tamei, that's why you can't take a portion. And the Gemara continues the argument. Tainli mechatas Yisrael. The kohen that's a tvul yom, that's not pure, says, give me a portion from the chatas Yisrael v'ochel, that I'll be able to eat it. Amar Lei says to him, Uma b'makom shahora kochi b'minchasi, in a situation where I don't have strength by my mincha, dechisicha mi minchas Yisrael, I'm able to push you away from minchas Yisrael. Makom sheyafa kochi b'chatasi, in a place where I have strength, like by my chatos. Eino din shadichacha mechatas Yisrael. Again, can't I push you off from getting a share of the chatas Yisrael? And again, Amar Lei, he says back to him, I can make the reverse argument. Uma im shedechisani mi minchas Yisrael. You're able to push me off of minchas Yisrael. Shekashem shahora kochacha kach hora kochi. Just like you don't have strength, I also don't have strength. But tadcheini mechatas Yisrael, can you push me off chatas Yisrael? Shekashem sheyafe kochacha kach yafe kochi. Just like you have strength, so too I have that strength. And again, the Gemara says, Harayu Omer, but the Pasuk says, HaKohen HaMechate Osay Yochlena, the Kohen who's able to throw the blood, who's able to offer it, he's the one that eats from it. Bo Chatav Achel, go ahead and offer, and then you'll be able to eat. But again, of course, he's not able to offer it because he is Tameh. And the Gemara continues the argument. Amar Le, he says to him, Tainli Mechaz V'Shok, give me from the breast and the thigh of Karban Shlamim, V'Ochel to eat. Amar Le, he says to him, Uma b'makom sheyafa kochacha b'chatoscha dechisicha mechatas Yisrael. Again, in a place where you had strength, like by your chatas, I'm able to push you off from chatas Yisrael. So makom shora kochacha b'shlamim, when you have less strength, like a shlamim, she'ein lach b'hen el chaz v'shok. There, all you get is the chaz v'shok. All you get is the breast and the thigh. Eino din shadichacha. Doesn't it make sense that I can push you off? And he responds, Ma'im dechisani mechatos shekein hora kochi etzel nashai va'avadai. When it comes to chatos, you push me off because there I don't have so much strength when it comes to my wives and my servants. But tadcheini mechaz v'shok, can you push me away from chaz v'shok shekein yafe kochi etzel nashai va'avadai? There I have strength, but in terms of my wives and my slaves. Harehu omer, again the pasuk says, La kohen hazorek es dam hashlamim lo yiyah. The kohen who is able to throw the blood of the shlamim, he gets the shlamim. Bo zerok v'achol, go and throw, and then you'll be able to eat from the carbon. And Rashi explains, Shekain hora kochi etzel nashai va'avada. Again, I have less strength by the chatos in terms of my wives and my slaves, meaning af keshani tar, even when I'm pure. Sheni rashoy lahachilo lehem, I can't give it to them to eat. When it comes to chatos, that's not true by shlamim. And the Gemara continues, Yotza Tvul Yom Kula V'Chamura Val Rosha. The Tvul Yom then leaves with all of his Kal V'Chomers on his head, meaning all of his arguments, they didn't work. And Onein Miyamino, the Onein is to his right, and Mechusra Kapara Mismolo, and the Mechusra Kapara, the one who's impure because the atonement has not been brought, he's to his left. And Rashi explains, Onein Miyamino Sha'af Heim Nidach, meaning the Onein and the Mechusra Kapara, they're also pushed off. Min HaMikros Halala, from the very same Psukim, She'ein on Ru'in Lavod, because the point is all of them are not able to do the service in the Beis HaMikdash, and that's why they don't have a share in the Karbanos. And the Gemara continues, Parach Rav Achoy asks the following question, Lei Molei, why doesn't he say to him, why doesn't the impure priest say to the pure priest, Tein li mi bechor v'ochel? He'll say, give me from the bechor, I should be able to eat from the bechor. And Rashi explains, Parach Rav Achoy v'leima v'lisni Rebbe Elazar Rebbe Shimon b'haitin. Why doesn't Rebbe Elazar Rebbe Shimon give this argument? Tein li mi bechor v'ochel, give me from the bechor and I'll eat lo erev in the evening. Amar lo tahar, and then the pure one says back, Ma'im b'makom, as we'll see in a moment. Again, the pure Kohen Kohen will argue back. Mishum Damar le, he'll say back to him, Uma b'mokom shehora kochi b'chatos, if where I don't have a lot of strength, like by a chatos, etzel noshai v'avoda, in terms of my wives and my slaves, as we just said above, but the chisicha mechatos Yisrael, I'm able to push you away, not to give you a share from the chatos Yisrael. So mokom sheyafe kochi b'bechor, in a place where I have a lot of strength, like by bechor, the kule dilihu, it's all mine. Eino din shadachacha mimenu, doesn't it make sense that I can push you away from it? And then he'll respond, the Tzvul Yom will respond back, Umam dechisani mechatos, the fact that you can push me away from chatos, shekashem shehora kochacha kachora kochi, just like you don't have strength there, I also don't have strength there. Tadicheni me bechor, can you push me away from bechor, shekashem sheyafe kochacha kach yafe kochi, there just like you do have strength, I also have strength. And on that we can respond, Harehu Omer, but the pasuk says, as domam tizrok al mizbeach v'eschelbam taktir, the blood you're going to throw on the mizbeach, their fats you're going to burn, uvesaram yelach, and then the meat will be yours, meaning bo zerok v'achol, go and throw the blood, and then you'll be able to eat. Again, why not have a similar argumentation when it comes to bechor? And Rashi explains, as domam tizrok, again the pasuk says you'll throw their blood, but bechor ksiv, that's written by bechor, bo zerok v'achol, so again, go throw the blood, and then you'll be able to eat, but since you can't because you're impure, you're not able to eat. And Rashi notes, V'afa gav dein bechor nechol b'machlokas. Now, even though bechor is not eaten through division, you don't divide it up among the Kohanim, she'eno nitin la'anshe mishmor, it's not like other karbanos that are given to the Kohanim that are serving in the mikdash at that time. It's not given to the anshe mishmor. Elo l'chol kohen sheyirtzek truma. It's actually just gifted to whichever kohen he wants to give it to, just like truma, uchapidyon ha-bechor, and like the redemption of the bechor. Miu, but nevertheless, tepok lon mina de lo yitnu bechor, elo l'mi sharoi la'avoda ba'os hashah. Still, we should learn that the bechor can only be given to somebody who's able to do the avoda at that time. And the Gemara continues and says, V'idach, in this particular case, the other one, meaning the Kohen that's Tameh Parach, he's actually able to ask on this. It's not final from that pasuk, because he can ask and say, Miksiv uvesarm la Kohen hazorik. Does it say that the meat goes to the Kohen who throws the blood? It says uvesarm yolach. It says that the meat will be to you. Ksiv, that's what's written in the pasuk. Afilu la Kohen acher. And therefore the pasuk is actually saying that it can even be given to another Kohen. And the Gemara continues and asks, V'hechi avid hachi, now how was he able to do this? Rashi explains the question, V'hechi avid hachi, Rebbe Elazar, Rebbe Shimon, this is going back on Rebbe Elazar, Rebbe Shimon, Diamar haidina bebeis hakise, we said above in the Gemara that he made this whole argument in the bathroom. How was he able to make such a Torah argument in the bathroom? V'ha'amar Rabba bar Barchana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, didn't Rabba bar Barchana say that Rabbi Yochanan said, B'chol makom muter lahara, in all places it's permitted to think Torah, chutz mi merchatz mi beis hakise, except for the bathhouse and the bathroom. And the Gemara answers to that, La'on so shani. In this case, it was essentially by accident, so it's different. Rashi explains, La'on so shaisa shmoa so shagura befiv. He was learning this so much, Umahar ba'al karchu, he would think about it against his will. V'dugma so shamati b'kedushin, I heard something similar in kedushin, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Kuf Gimel Amud Aleph.